weekend. It's match day. I hope you're all excited, but it's also the breaking news. Well, the news show at 10 o'clock with me, Mark Goldbridge. I hope you're all doing well. Erik Ten Hag, embargoed section. Some very interesting quotes in what is essentially Erik Ten Hag warning INEOS and warning fans and warning the press of what goes on underneath. If you make big changes this summer, do you damage a lot of the stuff that is going beyond results, that is going beyond bad luck? We will talk about that. Also, Ross Barkley, remember those two words, could be signing for Manchester United this summer. There's some very logical reasons as to why it might happen. There is some people actually saying this could really happen. Would it be a good deal for Manchester United? Effectively, you'd get him for next to nothing. But is he good enough to take Manchester United forward? Is it the right sort of player? Not every player can start every week. Do we need to fill the squad out with players like that? We'll talk about that as well. Also, an Anthony Martial update from Erik Ten Hag as well. Now, it's match day today. A few people talking about, oh, it's just paper talk. There's no paper talk this morning. It's all real talk. It's all coming from the mouth of Erik Ten Hag, because what happened last night at 10:30 is the second part of the press conference came out and there were some very interesting quotes from Erik Ten Hag in there about the director of football, about the technical director, warning INEOS about it really and saying, look, you've got to be careful about stuff like that. Also the stuff that's going on behind the scenes and the plans for the summer. And I personally think you can read some of Ten Hag's stuff one of two ways. One, he really wants to be involved in taking Man United to the next level and believes he can do that. Or two, he's basically just saying, look, they're making change for change's sake. Is this actually going to make things better at Manchester United? Or is this a set of people that are playing with what they think is a toy, and actually it's Manchester United Football Club, and they're just playing some sort of guide that they think is the way to run a football club, and it could be the dummies guide to running a football club. Erik Ten Hag says, Eric, there was somebody in the chat, I forget their name, I think it was LT or something like that, saying that Ten Hag should be sacked for his transfers alone. And it, sometimes you read something and go, that's idiotic, I won't mention it. I just thought that was stunning. So we should sack Ten Hag for his signings alone. Casemiro worked. Martinez worked. Rasmus has worked. Onana is working. Malacia cost no money. Eriksson was a freebie and worked until Andy Carroll ended his career. Anthony was very, very expensive, but most people would want him to start ahead of Marcus Rashford tomorrow. So Mason Mount's been out or injured all season. Looks like he could be good. I think people just have these myths in their head about, Ten Hag's transfer policy is terrible. We've had to be patient about some of them. Some of them cost too much money. That wasn't Erik Ten Hag. That was Murta. That was Arnold. But I think most of his signings actually are not written off yet or are gradually getting better. So I disagree with that one. I really, really do. Ten Hag should walk away from the toxic mess. It must be driving him mad, says Carlos. Well, let's hit some of these comments, because I think the big one I want to start off with, and I think this is the most important thing of all that he said. It is in this business and in this industry, it is about results. I think if he loses tonight, I'll lose it. I don't know whether to wear this or my Rasmus top. I think we'll do a poll a little bit later, but I don't, I think if he loses tonight, even I will say, I think it's over. It might be over anyway, but I think if he loses to Bournemouth, there's just not going to be any coming back from that. It'll be absolute. I think that's it. I think it's it. But what he has to say is absolutely spot on. This business, this industry is about results. Many only see results, but you have to see what's underneath. I see what's underneath. I see the potential. I see the direction. I'm positive about the way we want to go, and we will be successful. Now, people will say any manager is going to say that. But you know what? It's a little bit like the start of Top Gun Maverick. They've been working on this plane that can break the speed of sound or something like that. And Top Gun Tom Cruise is getting in the plane, and then the people that have been working on it and said, the government have pulled it, the boss is on his way, he says, whatever you do, don't take off. And Tom Cruise is like, what? We're that close. I really believe we can break the record. And they're like, our hands are tied, we can't do anything. He's nearly here now. Get my helmet, get the fuel in. He gets in the plane. They're like, Tom, what you doing? He says, trust me. He gets in the plane, he breaks the sound of record, and everyone else looks stupid, right? This is, when you know, you know. And I don't think Ten Hag's saying it just to keep his job. I think he's saying it because he's looking at what's going on, and he genuinely can see. It's not a spoiler, by the way. That's the start of the fucking film. It's in the first minute. There's another 2 hours after that, and it gets a lot better. But The film's not about Tom Cruise trying to break the speed of sound. That'd be boring. Mach 13 it is. Anyway, I think Ten Hag is looking behind the scenes and going, we're close. We're actually close. It's the old Arteta 8th to title race thing. How did they do that? Because Arteta was doing stuff behind the scenes that was going to, when it comes to fruition, it's a happy day every day. It's consistency, it's results. I look at the likes of Lacey and Amas training with the first team. I look at Camboila and Mainu and Garnacho in the first team. I look at Højlund and Mount and Onana, who were 3 summer signings last year that for different reasons have never really got going. I think there is a future under a Ten Hag, and I think there are things going on underneath, and I think it's our duty as those people who want to see what's underneath, pardon the pun, to fight for it, because the media don't. I've never heard Gary Neville. I've never heard Luckhurst. I've never heard bloody The Athletic talking about what's going on behind the scenes underneath results. There's loads of stuff going on, and of course, I've not even mentioned the amount of injuries. I think there's a really bright future for Manchester United, where we see Lacey come through, where we see Amas come through, where we see others come through. In 2 years' time, Garnacho's going to be a senior pro. Mainu's going to be a senior pro. Højlund's going to be a senior pro. And those people keep coming through. And people want to throw Ten Hag out because of results in a season where we've had loads of injury. Or they want to throw him out just to see what we throw next. I'd rather throw up than to have Gareth Southgate. And you know, look, all fan bases have different types of fans, but it's so frustrating to see Manchester United fans who haven't got a bloody clue like what they want. They just want Ten Hag sacked. They don't even know what they want. And what I find amazing about this is get this bold fraud out, get Ten Hag out. They don't have the capacity to look at the good stuff that's going on. It's visibly there today. Look at how many good young players we've got through. Look at how many good young players we've got training with the first team. Not every manager does that. Ollie didn't really do it. Mourinho didn't do it. Van Gaal did do it. Moyes didn't do it. Like you might get a manager that doesn't do it. But there's so many people saying sack Ten Hag. They've got no fucking idea who's going to replace him. And you know why they've got no idea? Because the club haven't got an idea either. It's just sack the manager, and I will never ever be able to understand football fans who treat their football club like it's Christmas. I'll get rid of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. I want He-Man. And then by February, you're missing Han Solo and Luke Skywalker because you're bored of He-Man. It's like football fans are so circular. They may as well be hamsters. They don't look at the bigger picture. You don't even know what manager you want, but you want Ten Hag sacked. Well, you might know who you want. You're not getting Zidane, by the way. But like your options are Potter or Southgate, and you'd still sack Ten Hag. Potter and Southgate, and you'd sack Ten Hag, who is actually doing wonders behind the scenes for the football club. Don't fall for the spin. If INEOS want Ten Hag out, they're working with the media. And that's why we're constantly getting stories about Southgate. If INEOS want Ten Hag in, they're just not talking to the media. There's 2 options there. If they want him out, they're talking to the media, getting all these stories out there. If they don't want him out, they're just ignoring the media and cracking on with their job. What the truth will be, we'll find out. AM says, Erik Ten Hag's development of the youth should be enough to see the future with him. I don't trust managers to do the same. His Ajax team was mostly youth, says AM. Thank you very much. So also, look, I'm going to talk about Ross Barkley. I'm going to talk about Martial. Very interesting. But this is what he also had to say as well. With regards to the season and the what he's had to contend with this season, he said, look, it's huge bad luck. A lot went against us this season, not just injuries. You look at the penalties we've conceded last week against Chelsea. They could have gone a different way. You think over the course of a season, sometimes you will get one going your way, sometimes you'll concede one, but this season it feels like we only concede them. I mean, it's interesting. I've not even thought about that. He said on issues that he's had to contend with, he said, look, the thing is you have to be realistic. As a manager, I'm like a prime minister. You don't have anything in your hands, but at the end of the day, you have to accept that. You're responsible for everything, and I take that. I think that's really telling as well, because I was talking about that last night, and I didn't know this was going to come out in his press conference. It's not like Ten Hag's WhatsApping me. And I said on the show last night, I think it's disgusting how Ten Hag has been treated since Christmas, since INEOS came in. He is not just the manager. He is the CEO. He's the director of football. He's almost running the football club because he's the only visible target above the players. You know, Arnold's gone. Murtaugh's gone. Brailsford's doing his reports. Sir Jim is sort of doing cycling podcasts. Ashworth is cutting his grass, and Barada's cutting his grass. So, you know, all this big change for Man United's going on. You know, it's a little bit like, you know, you're trying to defend a castle, and all the people who should be doing it are, you know, polishing their armour and having a chat. And old Ten Hag, the knight, is out there on the drawbridge, holding everybody back, saying, anyone going to come and help me? It's your fucking castle. And it's like, boom, 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 fights them back, closes the door, and they all go, thanks, Eric. We found a new knight now. And it's like, I've just been holding this lot off for the last 3 months, so you lot can get ready, and that's how you're going to treat me, chuck me over the fucking wall. And it does feel a little bit like that, and I think that's what Ten Hag is saying. It's a difficult job. I have to get on with it. It feels like I'm doing everything, but that's just the way it is. I accept that. But look, Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out, Ten Hag shake it all about. Nobody else is stepping up to fight with him at the moment. He is Man United. Him and the players are Man United. There is no CEO. There is no director of football. There is no owner. You know, nobody is actually doing anything. They're just sort of like, it's almost like he's a sacrificial lamb. It's like Man United is Ten Hag and the fans at the moment. And it's like anything that goes wrong, he will be responsible. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. Don't get involved with it. Let this season go to shit. Put it all on Ten Hag and we can have the summer hype. In which case, why don't you wait until the summer to buy the fucking football club? Because you actually have owned the football club since January. And you're not doing anything. You're not, you know, as I keep mentioning, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, they have a CEO, they have a director of football, sporting director. These people, they talk regularly. The manager doesn't talk as much because they talk as well. And Ten Hag has to do everything. And Mourinho said this as well. This is what happens at Man United. But I think there should be some sort of loyalty there in relation to what he's actually done and what he's having to do, which is just front up all the time. Lots more to talk about, don't worry. He said that with regards to what's going to happen with the summer transfer window, some very interesting stuff said about Potter and Wilcox, actually. And some people think that this is an indication that he's going to be leaving the football club. I'm not so sure. He said, look, we're working in the background on plans with the scouting for the summer. So what we do with our staff is we're working on our plan. The plan is ready, but we have to execute. And yeah, I trust the new ownership will work as quickly as possible and bring new good structures and they can execute. So what he's basically saying there is that we have plans for the summer and beyond and how we want to work. And it's down to INEOS to put those things in place. He said we have good plans, I think also with quality players. You look at the recruitment, Anana's doing very well. Rasmus, everyone is seeing his big talent and potential. You can see that we've done quite good with recruitment. Martinez, everyone was hugely happy with him, and there are others. Recruitment has been good. But then he spoke about Ashworth and Wilcox, and he said, look, if Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox have even better ideas, we're always open and always you have to judge those ideas. If we have options but they come with better options, we are open. They have to fill us in. But we have a way we want to play. So now we know our profiles. So it has to match the profiles we want. Now this is very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. So what Ten Hag is saying is, look, we're building something here with the team, with the youth around a certain way. If Ashworth and Wilcox are going to come in and supplement that, then we will be better for it. If they're going to come in with a different way, then there's going to be a problem. And I think that's the big question, isn't it? Are Ashworth and Wilcox and Barada going to come in and work with Ten Hag, or are they going to come in and say they want something completely different? The interesting thing is, if you do your homework on Ashworth, does he actually fit with Barada? Barada spent a decade at Man City with Pep Guardiola for most of that, playing a certain brand of football. Dan Ashworth spent the last 2 years at Newcastle playing a completely different brand of football. At Brighton, it was similar to Man City in a way. At England, it was nothing like it. So I think Ashworth's the one. Wilcox doesn't worry me because Wilcox was at Man City. I think Ashworth is the one. If Ashworth comes in and wants to do something different to the way... And look, Ten Hag's style of football is more Barada and Wilcox than what Ashworth has been doing at Newcastle. So I think Ashworth, if you do your homework, Ashworth is the one. Barada and Ten Hag, I could see them working together. Barada and Wilcox, definitely. So therefore, Barada, Wilcox and Ten Hag, I can see them having a very similar approach. I mean, look, Ten Hag loves Pep Guardiola, whether you like that or not. Ten Hag loves Pep. He worked under Pep at Bayern Munich. Wilcox was at Man City, and Barada worked with Pep at Man City. So I think those three people together logically work well together. It's Ashworth. I don't know about Ashworth. His time at Brighton fits Barada. His time at Newcastle, not so sure. I think Ashworth is the one, and he's going to have a lot of power. So, look, people will listen to what Ten Hag said and said, oh, you know what, he's talking himself out of a job there, saying that Wilcox and Ashworth have got to get on board. But they have got to get on board. Wilcox and Ashworth can't walk into Man United and say, this is what we're going to do. They've never been here. They've got no idea about this football club. There has to be a fusion. What I don't want is a load of new faces walking into the club in the summer trying to figure this all out. I think it's a recipe for disaster. Barada doesn't start till June. Ashworth probably doesn't start till June. Wilcox probably not going to start till May. INEOS, Sir Dave have only just started, and Blanc, and then you want a new manager as well. So everybody's just there together on a summer holiday learning about the club. I want some continuity, and I don't want that continuity to be certain players who've sacked 3 or 4 managers. I want to see some continuity in that football club, and the only person who is going to provide continuity now, who I think is the right person, is Erik Ten Hag, because Arnold's gone, Murtaugh's gone, you know. Of power, the only person that's going to provide you that continuity is going to be Ten Hag, and that's why I'd give him another season, as I've said before, because otherwise everybody's just walking in brand new. And one of the worst mistakes we've made of the last 10 years was somebody walking in brand new thinking they know Man United, and we all know what his name was, and he's managing West Ham, and his name is David Moyes. He walked in, he got rid of all Sir Alex Ferguson's backroom staff, got rid of all continuity, and said he was going to do it his way. And basically, he walked into Old Trafford with a wrecking ball and set us back 10 years with the Glazers' help. It terrifies me having a load of new people walking into Man United, because if you're a Man United fan, one thing about our football club, like Liverpool, is we have an identity. We're not just, we're not fucking Blackburn Rovers. We're not Stoke City. We're not a football club you can walk in and go, I'm going to make this into my football club. We have an identity at Manchester United. You can't just put a load of new faces in and go, this is the plan. You have to understand continuity. You have to understand that there is a legacy to this football club, and you have to learn it. You can come in with ideas, but you've got to learn the club. Patrice Evra said this. When I signed for Man United, I was really excited. But those first few weeks and months, you're learning about the football club, and it becomes more than a football club. Well, Ashworth's got to do this. Wilcox has got to do this. Barada's got to do this. Blanc's got to do this. Brailsford's got to do this. Radcliffe's got to do this. They've got to learn this football club, because it will change the way you want to do it. If Ashworth walks in with a plan, his plan will change in 12 months. Guaranteed. Because you walk in with an idea of what you're going to do to Manchester United, and you've got it all in your notes. You've been thinking about this player, been thinking of that player. You walk into Carrington, you walk into Old Trafford, and you go, shit, this is something different. This football club's, you can walk into some football clubs and not really know a lot about it and have a plan. I've done my homework. You walk into Man United, listen to any player, listen to Sir Alex Ferguson, listen to Mourinho. When you walk into Man United, you think you know what you're doing, and then the club teaches you what you're doing. And if Ashworth's got a plan, it will change. He's got to get his feet under the table. I think it's incredible that we're recruiting people in saying start in June, and we think they're just going to hit the ground running. It's a football club you've got to learn about before you start being successful with it. It took Sir Alex Ferguson 3.5 years. And if you don't understand that, I don't think you understand Manchester United. I've had people working for me in the past, and they had no real understanding of Munich at all. No real understanding at all. And then when we did like Munich, and they went to Munich and stuff like that, and they came back and they went, I never really, it's not that I didn't know it happened, but I never really understood it in depth. And that's just the Munich tragedy. There's so much to this football club that if you're going to work there, you've got to learn it. And you're only going to learn it when you start working there. So it terrifies me that we could have a new manager, new CEO, new director of football, new owner, all coming in with these pre-planned ideas of what's going to work. And then after 6 months, they'll go, yeah, I know what Man United's all about now. This is what we need to do instead. We need a bit of continuity. Ten Hag is building a foundation. We need to be patient, says Boogie. I'm telling you, Mark, says Abhijit. Ten Hag outers deep down knows it will work next season and will play better, but they're afraid of that because it hurts their ego. Do we really think we've got people in our fan base that are in the told you so club? Just stubbornly want to be proven wrong? Yes. Yeah, I can think of people straight away. Yes, I can think of people straight away. Some are friends, some are, you know, on social media, some are in the media. There are definitely people like that. I'll never understand it because it's definitely, I want Ten Hag to be sacked so that I can be proved right, and I've got no idea what the alternative's going to be. Because that's the fact. Whether it's Gary Neville or Gary Smith, it doesn't matter. They may want the manager to go, but they've got no idea who the manager's going to be. And that in life is just such a weird way to approach things, isn't it? You know, I don't like the car on my drive anymore. It's a good car. Get rid of it. What's your replacement? Don't know. Don't know. Haven't got a clue. Could be a banger. Could be a Ferrari. Don't know. Anyway, look, let's move on. Eric Ten Hag done that one. Okay, right. I want to talk about Ross Barkley, but I want to talk about Anthony Martial first. So this is what Eric Ten Hag has had to say about Anthony Martial. I don't know whether he's going to be available or not. He's still with the medical team. He is out running on the pitch, but if he will be available before the end of the season, I just don't know. Fabrizio Romano this morning has put it out on his Instagram. Anthony Martial will leave Manchester United in the summer. Some would say that's not breaking news, Mark. Well, it is from Fabrizio's point of view. He will leave this summer. There's interest from Turkey and France, but he will leave for Manchester United this summer, and he may never put a Man United shirt on again. As Carlos says, no one cares about Martial. I care. So that's one person. I do care. I think Anthony Martial's legacy at Manchester United, first and foremost, is unfair. I think when you compare Martial to Rashford, Rashford's had the better last 5 years, but it's not as big as you think it is. Like, Rashford's had some really bad years. Martial's had some bad years as well, but there was a time when I thought both of them were going to be our future for the next 10 years. I think Martial's story is somewhat sad. Where Rashford was protected by the media, Martial was unfairly scapegoated by the media, and I think that's led to a negativity around Martial that's a bit unfair. When you look at his time at Man United, inconsistency in performance is definitely a factor. Injury is probably the biggest factor. And then myth is a factor. And a myth is about moodiness, not running, you know, can't be arsed. I know people who know Anthony Martial, and I've said this for years. He shuns the media. He is probably not a bad-looking lad. I don't know. But he's certainly, as a striker, somebody that could be holding up Adidas Predator boots or, you know, Hugo Boss. Or he could do a lot more media work easily. He's a striker, you know, definitely. He doesn't do it because he's quite introverted as a personality, shy, you know, whatever you want to call it, withdrawn. What the media in this country did with that is misunderstood it, which is dangerous when you're talking about mental health. They misunderstood it and decided he was an ignorant, arrogant person. Oh, what nationality get called arrogant, I wonder? Oh, could it be the French? You know, some of the unfair stereotypes that have been labelled at some of our foreign players is a disgrace. And I think Anthony Martial has been inconsistent in relation to performance and has had ridiculous injuries. That's a fair criticism, and that's why we should be moving him on in the summer. But I think the personality thing has always been very unfair. Is this a player that goes out of his way to cause problems for the fans or the football clubs? No. Is this a player that goes out of the way to keep himself to himself? Yes. And that has been misperceived unfairly and misconstrued by certain ex-players as well as being arrogant, moody, and a problem in the dressing room, which is ridiculously far from the truth. He's never been a problem in the dressing room. He's not that type of personality to go in a dressing room and start dictating how it goes. He's just a withdrawn, quiet individual that has unfairly, in this country, been castigated as moody. And as for the not running, well, hello. I think there are other British passport players that don't run, so I don't know about that. He has to leave. He has to leave this summer. It's time to go. The reason he's got to go is we should have had 2 strikers this year. We've had 1. He's not been fit all season. He's got to go. He's earned a lot of money out of this football club. And injury, I wouldn't there is no part of me, I wouldn't even do a poll about whether we should keep Martial. He has to go. You just can't waste any more time on a player that's not available. And he has been made of glass for probably 3 or 4 years, hasn't he? But remember, Martial said himself in a very rare interview, he said himself, under Solskjaer basically destroyed my career because I was being told to play with injuries that have now messed up my mid to late 20s. So, and he's not the only one who said that. So, and I'm not saying it's on Solskjaer. Solskjaer's the manager. I think he was sort of talking about the Solskjaer reign, but medical department again. So, and he said that in interviews. He said, I've played games in my early 20s for Man United where I shouldn't have been playing, but I was advised to play, and ultimately it's cost me later on in my career. Overplayed, yeah, certainly. Very talented player on his day, brilliant. I even think last season under Ten Hag when he played, there was people like Ricky saying it, I was saying it, some of you were saying it. There was times with Martial last year when he played and he was fit that I liked him as our number 9, but when he was fit, that's always been the problem. And look, Martial was here when Ronaldo was here. Martial was here when Cavani was here. Martial was here when Zlatan was here. He's been here a long time, but he's also been injury prone a very long time, and that is ultimately the biggest problem. So Martial going is obviously best for everybody, but I'd love to see him play for Man United again. You know, it's the middle of April. I'd love to see him play for Man United again. I'd have him on the bench today, just for the last 20 minutes if Rasmus is tired. He's the only player we've got who can play number 9 other than Rasmus. He plays it really well. He can take the ball into his feet. He runs the channels. He links up the play. He's got a lovely touch. Martial is actually a half-decent number 9. Like, he actually suits the way we want to play. He understands it. You know, Rashford, you've got to hit the ball top and let him sprint. Martial's actually good at unselfishly running the channels, linking up the play, occupying the centre-backs, playing with his back to goal. It's a shame, but we need somebody who can do that week in, week out. Let's see if Ahmad plays as international. Avi says, Solskjaer was a yes man for the Glazers. Media loved him. Ten Hag is not a yes man for the Glazers. Media hate him. Southgate is a yes man. Not surprising. Certain media outlets will never write about the mess behind the scenes. Great point, Avi. You're absolutely spot on. Appreciate that. Okay, so that's Martial. Let me talk to you about Ross Barkley. Now, the overarching thing about Ross Barkley here is that age-wise, I'll tell you his age in a minute. I think he's 30. But look, Ross Barkley signed a 1-year contract with Luton Town in 2023. His wage was about 1.5 million for the year. So what's 1.5 million a year? Quick maths. That's hardly any money. It's about 30 grand a week, isn't it? 30 grand times 120. 40, 50 grand, 200 grand a month times 5. It's about 50 grand a year, isn't it? 50 grand a week. That's what we pay. That's what we pay Brandon Williams. He's 30. He's going to be 31 in December. So he's not on very much money. United Nick, welcome to the members club. So Ross Barkley's not on a lot of money. He's had a good season for Luton Town. He's on about 50 grand a week. He's 31 in December. He's out of contract. He's a free deal. He's played for INEOS before at Nice. I got told this morning, keep an eye on Ross Barkley and Man United, and in many ways he may well be an indicator of what the future is for INEOS under Manchester United. Because if you sign Ross Barkley, you've got no money. And I was like, well, okay, this could happen. What do I think about Ross Barkley? Look, for Luton Town, in the bottom half of the Premier League, he's done a good job. But we're talking about a team that's not in the Champions League that needs to get in the Champions League. Rabiot, I understand. And Rabiot's 2 years younger than Barkley. Rabiot's won the World Cup. Rabiot has played for PSG, Serie A, consistently in Europe. Ross Barkley is a Luton Town midfielder. Like, I'm not entertaining this conversation because we could go for Rabiot. And if you've got doubts about Rabiot, why the bloody hell would you sign Ross Barkley? There are levels to this game. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I wouldn't be surprised if we went for him. He's played for Nice. You know, he's British. He's free. Yeah. It's the sort of player that Gareth Southgate would probably love. But would you rather have Barkley over McTominay? Well, Barkley's a better player than McTominay, but would you rather have Barkley over Rabiot? No. Would you rather have Barkley over Edison? No. Would you rather have Barkley over Onana? No. Quality is lacking in that United team. You don't improve quality by diluting what you've already got. Ross Barkley, come on, what's that all about? Seriously. And people will say, well, it worked well with Eriksen. Well, I'd say Eriksen's a much better player than Barkley, but did it work well with Eriksen? He gave us a year, got injured. Well, he gave us 6 months. He got injured halfway through last season. We've got to stop doing this sort of thing. We've got to stop doing this sort of cheap, free deal that people go, oh, it's cheap and free. Look at the quality of the player. You don't catch Man City and Arsenal by signing Ross Barkley. That's not how you do it. You don't sign. We don't need to sign bench players. Our bench players should be players like Rashford or Dalot or Casemiro, or what I'm saying is our bench players should be current first team players, and you buy better first team players and you push first team players to the bench. You don't buy ready-made bench players. You don't close the gap on Man City or Arsenal by buying ready-made bench players. Your bench player, if you want to catch them, you buy better first team players that push good first team players to the bench. That's how you become better. We don't need to go and buy bench players. Buy a good first team player that pushes a first team player to the bench. You know, buy Wirtz and put Bruno on the bench. People will go, well, you can't bench Bruno, but that's how you close the gap. You've got to improve your squad. You're going to have a strong bench. The only way you're not going to have a strong bench by buying bench players. Buy first team players that forces first team players to the bench. That's what you do. We've never done this. So Ross Barkley's had a good season. If we get him, I'll support him and I'll back him, because I do that with any player, at least for the first few weeks. But that's how you close the gap. And you know what? There's a gap. There is a gap. There's no point opening your door in the morning and where you want to go, whether it's the shop, pub, or your gran's, there's a big lake and it's got crocodiles in it. If you swim in there, you're going to get eaten. You've got to build something to get over that gap, because that gap is real. You're not going to bridge that gap by buying a lilo and swimming across. Pop. You've got to start building the foundations and structure to bridge the gap. And the only way you're going to do that is with good foundations and good structure that is going to last. You know, you could try and swim across it and get lucky because the crocodiles are asleep, but you've got to build the bridge. You've got to bridge the gap. And to build the bridge, you need a gold bridge. No, but to build the bridge, you're going to need quality materials. And football's not that hard. Football's actually really simple. Being successful is hard, but the plans to be successful are not that hard. Man City in 2007 was shit. Within years, they're one of the best teams in the world. Oh, what did Man City do that was so hard? If only we had the secret sauce. It's not like the sauce on a Big Mac. What Man City did was look at Man United and Chelsea and fused Man United and Chelsea and basically built something that was successful off the pitch, successful on the pitch, good management, good recruitment, good infrastructure. Man City didn't break the wheel. They might have broke the rules, but they didn't invent the wheel. Man City did something that everyone else had done before. They just took the best bits and did it. And football is really simple. If Man United want to win Premier League titles again, you've got to look at the way Man City have built a squad that's got probably 7 or 8 bench players that would start for most teams in the Premier League and Europe. How do you do that? You don't buy Ross Barkley. You buy Declan Rice, and Casemiro goes to the bench. And then suddenly you've got Casemiro on the bench. You go and buy Branthwaite and Varane's on your bench. You know, I mean, obviously we're going to sell Casemiro and Varane, but you know, my point is, you buy as best as you can. Look, if I've got a lovely lasagna that I make at lunchtime to go in the oven today, And then the wife doesn't realise I've done it, and she's gone and bought a beautiful bit of fresh steak and some potatoes and everything like that. And she says, well, we're having this tonight. And I put the lasagna in the fridge for tomorrow. It's on the bench. And what a bench option it is. But if she comes back with, you know, a can of beans and some bread, we're having lasagna then, and we're having beans on toast tomorrow if anything goes wrong. Like, you gotta, you improve on what you've got, especially when you've got a gap to bridge. You improve on what you've got. Man United should not be looking at cheap options to fill out their squad. That, to me, is why I said, if Man United signs someone like Ross Barkley, I'm very worried about the future, because that is an ownership that's going, we can't afford to compete. Let's pretend we can with really clever, you know, clever signings that's not all about spending big money. If we start to get stuff like that, I'll be scared. If we start to get, well, what we've done with Ross Barkley is we've got a bargain there that's not going to break the bank. No more silly wages and no more silly transfer fees. And everyone will be going, oh, I love INEOS. I love INEOS. They're brilliant. They're spending less money to close the gap. What a great bunch of people. But actually, the truth is, we're buying players that are cheap, that no top team wants, to, you know, hide the fact that we're not real. We're not real, are we? So I think that what we're going to do in the summer is going to be very interesting. I don't mind buying a 19-year-old from Lille that's going to be the best midfielder in the world in 2 years' time and can come straight into the team and learn. But I don't want to buy a 30-year-old who's playing for Luton who has no future and is just here to, you know, fill a gap across the season every now and again. That's not going to close the gap. That's not going to make. Next season's about the Champions League as well. Fifth place this year might not get Champions League football. So next season you've got to say fifth place might not get Champions League football. So you've got to get in the top four. That is one spot in the top four next year. As far even now, Man City, Arsenal, top four next year, easy. Liverpool's a bit of a question mark because Klopp won't be there, but I would assume Liverpool will be there, which means there's one spot for Champions League qualification. Spurs, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Man United going for one spot. We've got a lot of work to do this summer to get in there. What's next? Maybe Jack Wilshere still has legs. We could sign him. Seriously, if we sign Barkley, ambition is dead at the club, says Nick P. United should get a shandy bar for the London fans, says GP. Connor Boswell, oh, he retracted that. Welcome, United, Nick. So, look, in theory, Ross Barkley is an interesting signing who will cost no money. In reality, does that close the gap on where we need to go? We have lost our way as United fans. Understandably, we have lost our way. People are like, we need to write off this season, which we do, but we also need to have a bit of a reality bite. And this is what we're waiting for, some proper leadership from those above. What's your plan? What you're doing? Because you bring someone like Southgate in, he's got to come in and get fourth place in his first season. And 3 of those places have already gone. He's got to circumnavigate playing in some European competition on a Thursday night. I worry about next season. I really do. I think momentum and consistency from Ten Hag into next season is our best chance. But I've said that before. But do INEOS understand how hard fourth place next year is going to be? Because that's what we've got to get next year, and we've got to get it. We've never, I don't think, been outside the Champions League 2 years in a row. So we always re-qualify. But next year is going to be really difficult, and we've got to be prepared to do it. We've got to have one of the most impactful summer transfer windows we've ever had. Many people would sell 10 players. How are we going to sell 10? Right, here's one to solve for you very quickly. You can think about this for the rest of the day. How are Man United going to sell 10 players, right? Think of it like this. You want to sack Ten Hag, some of you, right? How are Man United going to sell 10 players who won't be back in pre-season training until July, mainly mid-late July, right? So most of our players that we need to sell won't be back until mid to late July because a lot of them are going to the Euros, yeah? You've got a new CEO who's never met the players. You've got a new director of football who's never met the players. You've got a new technical director who's never met the players. And you want to throw a new manager in as well. So everybody meets each other for the first time at the end of July. Oh, season starts in 2 weeks. Let's go with what we've got again. Nightmare. Nightmare. We don't have a director of football. Say what you like about Murta. At least he knew some of the players and might have said, let's get rid of some. Same with Arnold. Useless, but at least he knew some of the players. Ten Hag obviously knows the players he wants to get rid of. If we get rid of all three of them, we've got a whole new manager setup, CEO, director of football. They're not even looking at the players until the end of July. Gone. We need to sell 10 players and buy 6 or 7. How's this even going to happen? How is it even going to happen? Oh, it can still happen, Mark. Ashworth can be doing stuff from his garden. What's he doing? Sat in his garden with a laptop playing Football Manager. I mean, I'd take that rather than keeping some of the players, but how are we even preparing for this summer if we're going to change the manager? It just doesn't make any sense. The only guy they can use is the manager. At least Ashworth and Barada can say, what do you think about this player? Yeah, I'd get rid of him. Okay, what about this player, bringing him in? Yeah. But you remove Ten Hag from that. You've got Ashworth and Barada going, what do you think about Maguire then? Oh, it's been brilliant for me for England. Let's keep him. Do you like my waistcoat? What do you think about Anthony? Don't know anything about him. I just manage England. We've only played Brazil once and he wasn't picked. Get rid of him. What do you think about Ahmad? Same. Don't watch the Championship. Never going to pick a player from there. And he's nothing to do with England. Get rid of him. What about McTominay? Yeah, my kind of player. Mine too. I tried signing for Newcastle. Keep him. What about Rashford? Yeah, I can get the best out of him. Keep him. I mean, that's what's going to happen if we go with Southgate. He's got no knowledge of this team at all, and neither is anybody else that we're bringing in. The continuity this summer will lead to sales. If we change the manager, everybody's brand new. No one's got a clue. Anyway, people have to understand if they sack Ten Hag, it's going against our FFP. He's staying next season, says B. I don't necessarily think he is staying, BG. I mean, we'll see what happens later today. As I said, people like Anana, Delo, Kambwala, Mainu, Garnacho, Rasmus, Bruno, Mount, U8 players are all bought by Ten Hag or promoted by Ten Hag or you know, he's giving you the armband. You're all going to be involved today. It's about time you lot were our future. It's about time you lot took on the leadership of that team. The other lot, who might not be here, can't be the leaders in the dressing room anymore. It's got to be you lot. It's your future you're playing for. It's our future you're playing for. I want those players to step up and start grabbing hold of this team. Because look, Varane's not there. Maguire might get sold in the summer. Casemiro's probably gone in the summer. Rashford probably won't even start. Anthony's another one. These are the players that have got to show that they're good enough. Because if we lose to Bournemouth tonight, some of those players will probably never get another chance under a new manager. Commented this a few years back, says Mr. Glenn Johnson. Under Ollie, we keep signing second and third options and we end up going backwards compared to our competition. Barkley makes complete sense looking at the Glazer way. And BG says, maybe they want Ross because of financial fair play, lower the wage bill. Outside of that, I'd love the top players, but we're only getting Muppets for a few windows. Yeah, well, you might be right about that. Great show this morning. Absolutely loved it. Make sure you smash a like on the video. And don't forget that we will be counting down to kickoff from 4 o'clock today. We've got Van Cam coming up as well with Kev. I'll be live with you at 5 for a 5:30 kickoff. So we've got you covered on the United Stand. Don't forget to smash a like and subscribe. It's match day. It's a big day. I've got to be honest with you. This game's absolutely massive. It's not just Bournemouth away. I think it's really symbolic of the rest of our season. I think when you play Liverpool, it's big. But they're better than us. When you're playing Bournemouth, these are the sort of games. They beat us at Old Trafford. You lose this game, even I would have to sit there and go, I don't know how you come back from that. So, massive game today. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all a bit later. Oh, I'm on That's Football at 12:30 for Newcastle Spurs as well. 1, because I want to watch it. 2, it actually makes a big impact on us. If Newcastle win, we're down to 7th. I'll see you then.